Welcome to the fourth in a series of online interviews with Richard Harvey, psychospiritual psychotherapist and spiritual teacher. My name is Rob Meager. I'm an interfaith minister. I lead a spiritual ministry initiative in Ottawa, Canada called Spiritual Guidance, and I've been a student of Richard Harvey's work since 2012. Today's interview will discuss the lecture Honoring the Gate, Blessing, Gratitude, and the Golden Opportunity, Part 1 of 2, from the Sashti Poorthi lecture seminars. This is the third lecture of an 8-part lecture series, and each subsequent interview in this interview series will explore in more detail each one of the lectures in the Sashti Poorthi lecture seminars. Today's interview about the lecture Honoring the Gate and all the Sashti Poorthi lecture seminar manuscripts are contained in an ebook entitled Dharma Sky, which is available through the Sacred Attention Therapy website at www.sacredattentiontherapy.com/books. Dharma Sky is one of a trilogy of 3 ebooks, each containing 14 lectures, totaling 42 lectures. The second ebook is entitled Moksha Dawn. The third ebook is entitled Bodhi Ocean and is currently in production. Again, all ebooks are available through the Sacred Attention Therapy website at www.sacredattentiontherapy.com/books. You can also listen to the full recording of each of the lectures in this series online through the Sacred Attention Therapy website at www.sacredattentiontherapy.com/education. I would now like to provide you with some background about Richard Harvey. He is a psychospiritual psychotherapist, author, and spiritual teacher. His career spans 37 years, working with individuals, couples, groups, and communities. He trained in humanistic and transpersonal psychologies and psychotherapy, studied meditation in India, and trained in Soto Zen. He has been influenced by Jung, Gurdjieff, Alan Watts, and Joseph Campbell, the ancient Taoists and the Vedas, predominantly Advaita Vedanta. He has a particular affinity with Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, and Ramana Maharshi, and was more recently inspired by Adidas Samraj and Nisargadatta. Deeper than all these varied experiences and teachings, however, is the early sense of truth Richard possessed since childhood, a deep understanding and intimacy with the Noumena, the divine source of being. It is from this innate wisdom that his spiritual teaching has blossomed, grown, and developed. Richard is a prolific and passionate author. 2 of his books were self-published efforts, The Book of Being in 1998 and Tao's Gift in 2005. The Flight of Consciousness was published by Ashgrove Publishing in 2002. His latest book, Your Essential Self, The Inner Journey to Authenticity and Spiritual Enlightenment, was published by Llewellyn Worldwide Limited in 2013. Richard has published nearly 200 articles. He is currently working on his forthcoming book entitled Your Sacred Calling. Richard's lifetime of study, work, and experience has culminated in his independent psychospiritual psychotherapy practice from his mountaintop spiritual center, Corpio Llano de Montarno. The center is set in a beautiful and tranquil 3 acres on the southern slopes of the Sierra Nevada mountains in Andalusia, Spain. From the center, Richard offers individual therapy and couples counseling in person or via Skype to people all over the world, spiritual, psychospiritual training, and supervision, as well as courses and retreats. Richard Harvey's work connects personality and spirituality through a middle stage of heart awakening, authenticity, and compassion in his comprehensive model of human development, the 3 stages of awakening. He is the founder of Sacred Attention Therapy, a profound, radical, and fresh approach to sacred spiritual life and to the dilemmas which have arisen from the accelerated development of ego processes in the 21st century. He believes that it is through the transformation of the individual in his unique struggle to become fully him or herself that we will progress through a collective gestation of soul and spirit into a timely light and expanded consciousness. And it's now my pleasure to welcome and invite Richard Harvey to the class. Hello, it's good to be with you as always. And today we're talking about honoring the gate, blessing, gratitude, and the golden opportunity. And I want to jump in by talking about the gate itself. And early on in the lecture, I'm going to quote a few sentences from very early on in the lecture. You share that the gate, the golden opportunity, occurs in times of grief or the death of a loved one, the end of a relationship, a descent into depression, anxiety, or some other imbalanced mental state facing the unknown in the form of rites of passage or thresholds of life, a full betrayal, rejection, abandonment, isolation, or alienation, feeling profoundly alone in life, a crisis of authenticity and meaning, not fitting in, missing life, or misfortune. But what distinguishes these life events from all others is that they offer us a glimpse of something more, something beyond. They promise some revelation, some insight into the mystery. And so this is a quote from very early on in the lecture. And I was reading that, and I can all too well relate to that as well. I'm sure that many people who are listening to this recording, can. But my question for you is, have you ever experienced for yourself or from another how the gate appeared as a result of a positive or joyful experience? For example, what about the experience of falling in love? Either with a person, with an animal, or with nature. So again, the question is you provided many examples in the lecture whereby the gate is offered to you, this gate of transformation, or this gate into transformation, from what might be seen as not so positive experiences. But can the gate also appear through positive or joyful experiences? Okay. Well, that brings the whole to the whole.
It's a lovely question. It's, of course, no. No, it's a lovely question. It's a lovely question. And I was scanning the, the lecture beforehand, and I was noticing the rather Catholic way in which we spoke about the gate there. I mean, for example, the gate is a once in a lifetime opportunity. It's a once in a lifetime event. However, elsewhere in the lecture, I said it is occurring every moment. So, in a sense, the positive experiences of love or some epiphany or some elation or ecstasy or something like this in ordinary life is a kind of gate, because every moment is a kind of gate. So anything that happens in that moment, if you're present enough to receive it is a kind of gate. But the gate that essentially we've been speaking about in the lectures, honouring the gate, is the transformative gate. It's the one that conveys you from this world of appearances into a deeper reality. Now, for that to happen, something apparently negative and yet spiritually or transcendently necessary must occur, must happen. And that something is inevitably, from point of view of your complacency or your arrogance or your happiness. I say happiness because this is the kind of happiness that descends into unhappiness and then rises into more happiness. In other words, it's changeable. On the other side, in the place where you're going through the gate, when it's a transformational gate, you're arriving in a place where the happiness is constant, is a natural state. It doesn't depend on the ups and downs of life or the changes in fortune. Therefore, the price to pay to move out of the duality of, love and not love, happiness and unhappiness, all the restlessness of the mundane world, is that you're disappointed with everything. Everything must lead you to the realization that none of this is permanent, therefore none of this remains, therefore none of this is, in a sense, real, because it will atrophy, it will disappear, it will die. This then is not the spiritual world. It's not the world of reality. It's not the God world. It's not the world of real truth. Thus, falling in love and, loving your dog, having a lovely meal, having elation, looking at a sunset, are all lovely human experiences. And they're great, on the level they're at, but they are not the deep gate that we're seeking or speaking of that leads to transformation. That one is necessarily negative from point of view
these sentiments have been expressed
our complacency.
by other
I say
people,
complacency
other famous
because more or
people,
less,
so I'll ask for forgiveness.
if we're
I'm
that
quoting
happy,
someone,
we're
I'm not
probably
being
not
able to say what
searching,
it
we're
is.
probably not exploring,
But I've heard
we're
it
probably
said
not
that
dissatisfied enough.
Selflessness is achieved through selfishness. Love is received and achieved through lovelessness. So the path to a state of awareness or heart awakening is achieved actually through the opposite. And this discussion of the gate, my sense is it's a bit of that concept at play, is to reach that awakened, that aware state. One has to be asleep. That in fact is the gift of that. Right.
That is a very good description of the gate per se, isn't it? That there is the gate. Suffering is the action of love. It's the way of attracting you to love, and not the love of attachment or the love of anything on the human plane, in fact, but of attracting you to a deathless love, which is within you, which is your core self. That's not going to happen unless you move into misery, so to say, unless you move into suffering consciously. A pivotal moment, really, which is that the people, when we go through the gate, in a sense, we elect to suffer consciously.
After,
before that, we're just suffering. It's unconscious, it's subconscious. We're resisting it.
Talk about
whatever it is, but it isn't in and of
those
itself
events that turn our life around are examples of the gate, and when it comes Biden or not, we must honor it. And it reminded me how some don't see the gate, and this is getting back to the comment about suffering with awareness or unconsciously. Some don't see the gate even after one of life's crises. And if those in crisis don't see the gate, is there anything we can do to help them see it? If they themselves don't see it.
Yes, you can facilitate their seeing the gate by very simply describing it. An extreme but an obvious example is a so-called nervous breakdown, or a bipolar or a borderline episode, or even a minor psychotic episode or something like this, may very well be the gate manifested. Now, you can veer off in the direction of medication, for which one has no judgment, of course, at all, because you deal with it to the best of your ability, and medication it works and so on. The trouble is that an awful lot of times, when that is something blessed, it represses. And it's been my experience consistently, the people who come to me who have been or undoubtedly would be diagnosed as mentally ill, when I have cast it in a whole different form, a whole different model, and said this is a wonderful opportunity for awakening, an extreme opportunity for awakening, but it's a great push into the fire, as it were. It can work. It doesn't always work, but one learns to recognize if this is mental illness per se, or whether this is an appearance of the gate, which is particularly tumultuous. Now, because culturally, when certain behaviors and certain depths of feelings are experienced, we've cast that into a pathological mold. And, culturally, we've learned to go to the doctor, go to the psychiatrist to seek medication. There is the possibility that we're missing people who are awakening, people who are going through, people who appear in a stage of transition, which is very difficult to handle, but it's possible to handle it.
What a gift it is.
And of course, it's a great shame to miss the blessing.
Kinds of facilities available
that they're
to them.
entering a period of spiritual and personal transformation, and that can
form of an imbalanced mental state, to quote the lecture. How if it was seen as the gate, if treatment in that kind of setting would progress differently, it would.
I think it's important to remember I'm not saying, this is not simplistic, it's not to say that everybody who appears to be suffering from a mental illness is entering a spiritual gateway, but the ability to discern will depend on the psychiatrist, the medical profession, practitioner, the mental health counsellor, whoever's there, having a spiritual sensibility. Without that spiritual awareness and sensibility, clearly that opportunity would be missed, because it's not part of the training, it's not part of the brief. Nobody's saying, keep an eye open just in case this is a spiritual gateway. it's a great tragedy. It's understandable, certainly forgivable, but at this stage in humanity's evolution, it is crucial that professionals dealing with people's minds and hearts have some spiritual sensibility, and that they have somebody that they can refer to say, well, is this a spiritual gateway of some sort? Is this something preeminently healthy?
To love, in effect,
or is this a pathological state?
Or what is your response
we should be trained to know the
now
difference.
In this moment, whenever you are depressed, angry, unloving, afraid, sad, distracted, searching, you have missed the moment. You have missed the moment in which you may commune with life, take life in, and merge with it. You have missed it whenever you are negative, filled with vengeance or meaning or meanness, feeling small-minded or simply unhappy. You have missed the opportunity, the abundant opportunity for reality, gratitude, and joy. You have missed the call to the divine, the philosopher, hearing and responding to the call of the divine. And when I heard that in the lecture and reread it in the manuscripts, I was reminded that many spiritual teachings, not just some, but many, offer that in simple terms, our purpose in life is simply to be happy. Nothing more, nothing less. Would you agree with that? Both that perhaps at the core of what I just quoted there, and that many spiritual teachings simply offer us our purpose in life is to be happy. Mm-hmm.
It's okay, but it's so easily misunderstood, because most people hearing the word happy understand it as a happy, sad kind of continuum. They see it as a change. I mean, everyone knows we're not always happy. You know, there's not always things to be happy about. And that, you know, there's tragedy and there's there's woes in life, and there's blue things in life, and there's things that depress us in life, and so on. So when people hear this word happy, it's very difficult, because the spiritual meaning of happy is a sort of fringe benefit. It's a sort of experience that confirms you're on the right path. It confirms that you're in the right domain, really. It's a tone. It's true, but it's not something that I care to emphasize, partly for the misunderstanding within a limitation of experience and meaning, and partly because what I would say about happiness is, in the spiritual sense, is that it's a kind of a fringe benefit. It's a tone. It's an atmosphere, really. And what's happening to allow happiness to confirm that is something immensely profound that I don't think is done justice by
it
saying
strikes me it's one of these principles that's what's on the surface.
Endeavor is to be happy.
Just as within psychospiritual work,
apart from anything else, you may be very not happy and yet also happy even at the same time, because whatever's happening
and share, this is why I'm coming to you, that's merely what's on the surface.
And you're happy.
And part of the goal,
but that's not all that's happening. In a sense, nothing is happening.
To
not
what's
even
really
happiness.
going on. And it strikes me that with this idea of happiness, that's what's on the surface. That is what you're initially feeling, but there's something far more important going on underneath the surface when happiness is a state. And I might suggest that it's something closer to, not to sound trite, but union with the divine, union with Source. And the happiness is purely what comes out of you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes. So the surface of the ocean is distinguished from the depths of the ocean. Yet it's all ocean. It's all ocean. But the surface is one thing, fascinating, and we're looking in the right direction. But to descend through into the depths, that's another matter. I think it's important to, maybe this is a good time to mention that these lectures are not about transient happiness. They're not about transient states. I think by and large these lectures, when they're fulfilled, all 42 have never once been referring
we had
us
a bit of a break in the
towards
call.
any transient state
It's
of
still
soul
recording.
form.
I just want to check. Can you see me? Let me try to turn. It's not going to turn on the video for me.
Hi,
Rob? Let's ring off, and I will ring back on. I'll tell you.